Ladies and gentlemen, this is the chat you've all been waiting for. I couldn't believe when you told me that video is now on 37,000 views. This is Andrew from FuelSpiracy. Last time I checked, that video was on 10,000, but you and your wife have been monitoring all the comments and keeping a keen eye on it, and now here we are.
Hello there, Geoff. Well, nice to be with you again. Yes, it's gone well, and some questions have come up, so I'll be doing my best to answer them.
Well, we might, as I say, we may repeat ourselves. If you're new to the channel and are just watching, well, make sure you click subscribe for starters, because subscribers mysteriously disappear sometimes. Sometimes, yeah, people will go, oh, I'm sure I was subscribed to that channel, and then they find that they're not. When you talk about controversial subjects, which you know all about, being silenced in one way or another. I'm going to let you do the talking, because I've only got one tooth, but the first thing to do is let's show them the product, I think. So, talk us through what I've got.
Okay, well, when I got involved with this, Geoff, what it was, this is some people will recognise this, what I've got in my hand. This is a fuel catalyst, and I got involved with this in 1989, and we were putting these in fuel tanks, and with some miraculous results. And this technology, I've believed in it ever since, and I've got a lot of evidence. Now, I've actually was introduced to an engineering designer very recently, and well, in the last 2 years, who's completely redesigned it. And this is the product we're talking about. There's two sorts, both of which are explained on my website. And they literally go in the tank, and they are catalysts, and they condition fuel, petrol, diesel, LPG, anything, and they make fuel burn better. That's what we're talking about. These devices that go in the tank, that's all we're talking about, no more and no less. It is quite simply that. So it is made of, you said it's a mixture of metals. It's predominantly tin. Tin is the main one. There's a little bit of copper there. Copper. And what was the other one? Antimony is an important one. Antimony? Yes, antimony. That sounds like a Marvel superhero. Yeah. But, okay, so it's that. And if you're looking at this, you can see, because it's got all the ridges designed into it, you can see how you can see through it. I'll get the camera right. There you go. You can see through it. So it has, you were saying as we had coffee, that little thing actually has a massive surface area. Yeah, that's right. Because of all the little triangles on it and the shape of it. So again, like for someone that, it's hard to understand for me that you drop that in your tank and it lasts indefinitely. Well, we say at least 10 years or 100,000 miles. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And it functions to create I'm trying to understand this as I go. It creates a reaction in the fuel, which effectively cleans the fuel, calms the fuel down. And I've learned about fuel bugs today. Oh yeah, fuel bugs as well. So there's dissimilar metals there. They set up a galvanic reaction in fuel. They set up a mild electrical current permanently. I said to Geoff earlier, if anybody who's had an amalgam filling in their mouth ever bites into something like a tinfoil chocolate wrapper or foil chocolate wrapper, it hurts. It's because it's setting up an electrical current in the fuel, in your mouth, that goes into your nerve. This is doing the same thing in fuel the whole time. And it has various effects on fuel, one of which is to kill fuel bug. And for that reason, this technology is actually used by the United States Navy, but that's moving on. Yeah, sorry, we're getting excited. But are fuel bugs, or is it more like an algae? It's a bacteria, and right. It turns into a sludge. So it's not these little things with legs that are swimming in the petrol? No, I don't think so. Right, no, okay. I was hoping it was. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, right, I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to let you tell people all about what you told me while we had a coffee, because your research is fascinating. Okay, well, thank you very much, Geoff. Well, anyway, a couple of people the other day said, for goodness sake, get to the point, and I'm sure they were right. I'll try and be quicker this time. All right, so a colleague of mine and a friend of long-standing, Peter Murphy, and I have written this book called FuelSpiracy. So to summarise it, FuelSpiracy, a case study in UK establishment corruption. And the topic is how knowledge and use of a simple device that saves fuel and cuts pollution has been suppressed by over 30 years of UK establishment deceit and cover-up. That is the story. Can I carry on? Just flip through the book and just...
I'd love you to. What we just did when we had coffee, show us that, because that was brilliant. So yeah, at your own pace, it's fine.
Okay, Geoff, thank you very much. Well, this is a hard copy of the book, and actually I do have a PDF version that is available to anybody free of charge by going to my website, www.fuelspiracy.info. I'll make it downloadable in a click. I haven't done that yet, I haven't had time, but if you email me using the form at the bottom of the page, I will send you a copy of the book. But I will just go through the contents of it, because it does explain the story as succinctly as I can.
Yeah, so if you go through that, and then I'll show them the page that you're on the camera, that'll save you picking the book up all the time. So.
All right then, so pages 3 and 5, well page 3 is the table of contents. Pages 4, 5 and 6 are the evidence to prove the story, and how we got the evidence, Peter Murphy and myself. Page 7 is what the product is, and how it's fitted. It goes in fuel tanks, or it can also go in fuel lines between the tank and engine. But we're not normally talking about in the fuel tank at the moment.
Can we talk about the insurance implication of that briefly?
Well, yes. When you put one in the fuel tank, you're not modifying the vehicle in any way. If you put one in the fuel line, if you're talking about cars, then it could perhaps count as a modification. Even though all we're actually doing is treating fuel, we're not actually treating any mechanical part, we're just improving fuel quality.
And you said to me that the main difference between inline like that or drop in the tank is inline will work quicker.
Slightly quicker.
Eventually the results will end up pretty much the same.
Yeah, and I always say to people, look, you can wait 1,000 or 2 miles, 1,000 or 2,000 miles to get a result in the tank, but actually sometimes it's much quicker than that. But you know, it can be amazingly quick, you know. Okay. So pages 8 and 9 are about fitting, and then the effects of fuel on the and that goes into the chemistry. Not in great detail, but it says basically what it's doing. Page 10 is an experiment that can be carried out using paraffin oil lamps, whereby I don't know how close you'll get on.
That's very interesting. So that is 2 paraffin oil lamps, one with and one without the device.
Yeah.
Just sat in the fuel, isn't it?
Just sat in the fuel.
And it shows a better burn on the one that's got the catalyst within it.
Yeah, so that's right. So page 11 is actually, well, it's a copy of this book, because but some people doubt that it was actually used in World War II. Well, there's loads of evidence that it was used by the Royal Air Force in World War II. And this particular book has a big passage about it. Hurricane aircraft were sent to Murmansk in Russia. They had Merlin engines. They needed very high octane fuel, high quality fuel. They were sent there and they only had very low octane fuel, and according to the account in this book, which is corroborated elsewhere, this was written by an RAF veteran, an RAF pilot at that time. Hurricanes should fly at 30,000 feet or more. When they got there on the low quality fuel, they couldn't get above 16,000 feet, and even then carburetors iced up. But they started using basically an early version of this. Problem solved. They were able to run a Hurricane aircraft on low quality fuel, and this is where the whole thing came from, World War II. So just to go through what's in the book, because it does summarise the whole thing. Then we get on page 12 is the inventor, or the man credited with the invention, Henry Broquet, who
looking was great in his bow tie.
Yeah. He was actually with the seconded to the RAF. It wasn't invented by the military, it was invented for the military, with Henry Broquet working in association with Russian chemists, because they knew about, the Russians already knew about tin as an additive in fuel. Then at the bottom of that page, there was complications with the commercial development of it, but in the 1980s, Henry Broquet was finally launched his product, but in Britain, and wartime system helps fishermen save on fuel.
So this is an article in...
that was in the Glasgow Herald.
So we're in mainstream media with this stuff, aren't we? And when we get further on, it's astonishing how much there is.
Yeah.
Before the great,
before the great thing. Yeah.
The great thing, whatever we call it.
Yeah, the great
before
thing.
they turned against it, yeah.
Yeah. And so it got there. But what actually happened in 1989, some old people of a certain age like me will remember unleaded petrol was introduced in Britain. At that time, though, most cars were designed for leaded petrol. And they could not use unleaded because of a lack of octane and because of a lack of lubrication. And people started running leaded-only engines on unleaded petrol and ran into all sorts of problems: pinking, overheating, valve seat recession mainly. The inventor Henry Brochet said, aha, that's exactly the problem that we had in World War II with the Hurricanes. All you need to do to let your car run on unleaded petrol was put one of these in the tank. And do you know what it turned out to be? We had cars going, and I'd become involved at this time. Cars were going better on unleaded petrol than they ever did on 4-star, even though without this product they could not have used it at all in many cases. So if we go on to page 15, there's an article there. Glasgow City Council, for instance, had 1,000 of them. Right? Page 13.
Yep.
And then on the bottom of the page, that's an ambulance fleet, Hampshire Ambulance, and it's got all the references in here. And they were actually interviewed on BBC Top Gear. Here it got onto BBC Top Gear. They interviewed fleet managers saying not only were the cars, and I've still got the recording, I don't know if anybody else has anywhere, saying these vehicles that shouldn't use unleaded petrol at all were going better on unleaded than they ever did on 4-star. At the bottom of the page we had here Rover dealers were placing full page adverts.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So this is actual Rover dealerships advertising this product.
Yeah.
In there, you could go to a Rover dealership and you could buy. It would have been that one, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
in the gauze.
Yeah, it would have been this one, and you could buy it for like 50 quid, and then you could run your car on unleaded petrol.
Save money and soothe your conscience at the same time. Your car can now run on lead-free fuel, and that's the advert for that product.
Exactly. And then we have like a sort of letter they would write saying this is the dealerships themselves saying actually cars we could that we know cannot use unleaded are running better on unleaded than they ever did on a 4-star, with a healthy increases in MPG.
So this is just brilliant. Henley. So this is a letter from the service department. Dear Paul, as you already know, we are a Rover dealership in Surrey, and for the past 6 months we've been using carbon flow as a method of converting all our cars, enabling them to run on unleaded fuel. I am pleased to inform you that we have not experienced any problems with either the installation of or the subsequent running of our customers' cars, and customer feedback has conclusively proved there is no loss of performance and a healthy increase in MPG. That's from a Rover dealer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which makes it all the more amazing what happened next.
Yeah, well, we'll get on to what happened next in a minute. But meanwhile, the next one, Practical Classics magazine. They ran an article, they were doing a test, and they took a Morris 1800, an old wedge. The 1800, they weren't wedges, were they, the 1800?
The 1800, I don't know whether that was the wedge or it was the ADO, wasn't it? I don't know, I'm trying to prove my knowledge here, but I'll put a picture of one up there.
yeah, one of those. And they took it to, they thrashed it as fast as they can on unleaded petrol when it couldn't use unleaded petrol at all, to see what would happen. And they reported that it was brilliant, even racing up and down Paul Hill in Somerset, which is the steepest hill in Britain, I believe.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and they said they actually described it as, in their words, the answer to classic car owners' prayers.
Yes, yeah, quite.
And so there was that one. Also, though, the product continued to be used in shipping or in trawlers, fishing trawlers in particular, in the North Sea. It says increased power from less fuel, big savings, etc.
Yeah, that's all in fishing news.
Yeah.
As an airplane, taxis over there. Perhaps filming an airport wasn't the best idea, but there we go.
And then Professor Gordon Andrews at Leeds University Department of Fuel and Energy, he was a leading combustion scientist at the time. He researched it and got very significant cuts in emissions. Carbon flow had been a unique product. However, it then got into the public domain, and other companies came along claiming to have invented it, which they didn't, but never mind. Their products were based on the same technology and they worked. Here we have P&O ferries using it and getting, confirmed by Lloyd's Register, 6 to 8% fuel savings. Sea-Link ferries, the same. Midland Electricity Board had 1,000 of them to let leaded-only engines run on unleaded. City University London did tests and got fuel savings on a rolling road with emissions reductions.
So all of these are glowing reviews,
and they're objective too. They're not just like John Smith of Milton Keynes or something like this. These are actually researched tests that were done. This one actually was by Sir Jack Brabham OB, who was the biggest name in motor racing in the 1960s. Australian. He got huge results on rolling roads.
He says, I arranged a dynamometer test some time ago. This showed a 5.5% improvement in power output. The product fully meets the claims of its manufacturer, including the ability to use unleaded in engines designed to run in leaded petrol.
Yeah.
From Sir Jack Brabham OBE.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
And that is just a snippet of what I can assure anybody listening to this is the information showing that this product works. We thought with about 200,000 vehicles and marine vessels in the UK using this, and a vast amount of evidence in its favour, that everybody would use it, not just in Britain and around the world. Why would we not think about that? But what we didn't consider was the next stage of the story.
The next stage of the story,
is there would have been less demand for fuel. There'd have been almost no demand for liquid fuel additives of the sort you see if you go into Halfords or a lot of petrol stations or anywhere else.
Yep.
You know, cleaners and unleaded conversion things. All of those, there's rows and rows of them that you can find, and you don't. Almost, I wouldn't say all of them are redundant, but most of them would be.
Yeah.
Replacement cylinder heads were being made to let leaded-only engines run on unleaded, and a lot of people spent a lot of money on those, but you didn't need to.
And then, we get into Rover later on, don't we? Rover was selling cylinder heads through their dealer network.
Absolutely, and this is where a lot of the things started. But also, when vehicles will last longer because of that was the first thing. But these days, catalytic converters, DPFs, and various engine components will last longer with this fitted. That also meant reduced demand for new cars. You put that lot together, it's not just the oil industry that don't want it, the motor industry don't want it as either. So we had not, obviously, to us or to me at that time, it was just a job. Hadn't considered any of this, but some people clearly had.
Yeah.
And what happened was, next, suddenly we were hit by the most horrendous publicity, making out the product was useless and avoid it at all costs. What made this publicity so damaging in particular was that it was spearheaded by these people called the Automobile Association, the most trusted and authoritative body in the land. What the AA did, they brought out a report called called Technical Notes, Fuel Enhancement Systems Based on the Effects of Tin. And they sent this document to the press and to the public and to overseas motoring organisations, making out that the product didn't work. The damage caused was absolutely massive, because if the AA says it doesn't work, in the eyes of the public it doesn't work. Anyway, so instead of more and more people adopting it and going crazy for it, the opposite happened, and suddenly everything went into reverse. And my colleague Peter Murphy and I, we were very hard hit by this. We couldn't understand it, and we started researching its documents. And we thought, my God, this is convincing. But then we read a bit and said, well, what is their evidence? And we found that it was based on 5 tests. The first of which, and the most influential, was by Rover. Rover, what they've been doing, well, we were selling this through its main agents, like here, if you remember that advert there. We were selling the product through them. Rover had made tens and tens of thousands of replacement cylinder heads to sell through their dealers. But people didn't want the replacement cylinder heads because they didn't need them through their dealers because the dealers were selling this product. So what did Rover do? Rover put out this press release saying Rover warning over carbon flow. It doesn't work. They said they had tested it and found it didn't work. Truth of it was different. People after the event wrote to Rover and said, hang on a minute, we've been selling this and you're saying it doesn't work, we're going to get in trouble. Please can you send us details of your test. After the damage done, Rover executives wrote back and said, well, we haven't actually tested carbon flow. In other words, that was a lie. So that was the first plank of the AA's evidence against this, was a lie.
So they say there, the only tests we carry out are on products we recommend. I cannot therefore comply with your request. So they're saying we only test products that we recommend, and we're not. So how do they recommend them if they don't test them?
Well, yeah.
That's quite funny, isn't it? Like tripping over their own words in their reply.
Absolutely, yeah. And then the whole thing kicked off from there. There was a test the AA mentioned or quoted by What Car test, and I suggest that rather than go through the whole thing now, people are welcome to the book, and it says exactly how this was rigged. Basically, they said we'll run this car, a Metro, for 12,000 miles, and if it's still going on unleaded, we'll recommend it. Right at the end of that, they got a firm called Aselli Engineering who were making replacement cylinder heads to supervise the test.
Aselli, who are still around today and still do a lot of racing with minis and older British stuff.
Absolutely, and what they did was they completely sabotaged the test. Absolutely outrageous, totally. But it says how they sabotaged the test, the details are in here. And we were, in the correspondence we got involved with the AA, they could not deny that the test was sabotaged.
Aselli claimed that after the test there'd been engine damage, but they refused to permit appropriate independent verification. Yeah. So they ran the car for 4 hours at 90 miles an hour and then said, oh yeah, it's broken.
Yeah.
And then when people said, can we go see why it's broken, how it's broken, they said no.
Yeah, that's
the test.
That's the test. That's how they did it.
Brilliant.
And then Practical Classics was another plank of the AA's evidence against this. Practical Classics, if you remember, had called this the answer to classic R and spares. Then suddenly it wasn't anymore. It was no good. And the next thing you know, they're sponsored by Castrol Valve Master, which is a lead replacement additive. And the publicity that Practical Classics just gave this, they ran an absolute hate campaign for years and years and years. And they really did absolutely, completely run this into the ground, and without any evidence whatsoever. But that test, and we got it in writing from the AA when we pressured them, that actually this was not a proper test, but that was an understatement. It was rigged. Then the AA himself said they tested it twice, but they never produced any report at all. And then the next thing we know, suddenly Shell, this is a press release that was issued to Shell garages, who had started to sell these products through their forecourts. And suddenly Shell said, oh, you mustn't do this because this has been proven useless by the AA, Austin Rover and Practical Classics magazine. And they had not a shred of evidence, and that's the thing that links the whole thing with Shell. But again, the details are in the book. Next thing that comes out, there was a detailed 4-page article in which magazine in the early 1990s? I know this case rather well. It was actually September 1993, to be precise. They came out with a 4-page article saying this is rubbish. And that, was still a lot of interest in this product, but this really dampened it down further. And the book of ours goes into chapter and verse about what was wrong with this article. There were so many things, lie after lie. One was, they said that they had been in touch with Volvo, and Volvo had told them it caused rough running and it was absolutely no good. Well, that obviously is very powerful, isn't it? Mm. But then Peter wrote to Volvo and said, please can we have details of your test? Volvo wrote back and said, well, we haven't tested it, don't know anything about it. In other words, that statement that was put out by the Consumers Association was a barefaced lie. And then they told several others, but we won't go into that. If people want to know the details, it's in the book and it's completely open and shut. They haven't got a leg to stand on.
Yeah, so they must have made up that quote from Volvo then.
Yeah.
The Which magazine stated that Volvo had said, our advice is not to waste money on such a device. Yeah. But they had no record of anything.
But that was just completely untrue.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Then we get on to the Advertising Standards Authority. They get involved. They're supposed to be a consumer organisation, but on the basis of this case, the only people they've protected is oil companies and motor manufacturers, because they've brought in special rules to make sure this product could never be advertised.
Yeah.
It's restrictive trade practices under a false guise of consumer protection.
Wow.
So this is another reason people don't know about it here. Then there was the Office of Fair Trading. They announced that a test of this product commissioned by the ASA and carried out by the RAC had proved that the product didn't work. So he wrote to the OFT and said, can we have details of the test? And they say, well, we haven't tested it.
So again, no test.
No test. It was another lie. Then the Department for Transport got involved. Well, they didn't exactly lie, I say, and they didn't. But it very much aligned itself with the AA that did, and it worked along with oil and motor industry lobby groups, such as the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders and the UK Petroleum Industry Association, that had colossal financial reasons not to want people using fuel catalysts. And then the British Standards Institution comes into it as well, because if we had there's a standard for every product you can think of, whether it's glass safety or air conditioning equipment, you name it. There's no proper standard for anything that might save fuel. They will not set a standard, and the committee that will not set a test and therefore allowed the disinformation to continue was manned by the oil and petrol industries, together with the AA, the Society of and the Consumers Association as well, and even the Ministry of Defence.
Yeah, so they're claiming that the BSI in that one there are. It's quite interesting actually. So they're claiming that the BSI had failed consumers by refusing to specify the test standards for products such as fuel catalysts. But the reason that they couldn't specify the test standards is because it would prove that they worked.
Yeah, that's right. That's why they wouldn't do it. And Peter just spent so long writing to the BSI, why will you not set a standard? We want to test our product to the satisfaction of everybody.
Yeah, let us do it to your standard, and they won't give you the standard.
And they just came up with excuse after excuse after excuse, and we've got it all in writing.
Yep.
And it just makes no sense. It's complete nonsense.
Amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's on. I hope I'm not sounding too much of a whinger about this. I hope I'm not.
That's probably your wife telling you to get on with it.
Anyway, so this is how they killed it in this country.
Yeah.
But then what happened was somebody took the technology to the United States, and I don't know how the connection happened, but suddenly there was a copy product in the United States called the Fitch Fuel Catalyst. And where they went to was the United States Navy, and they had this problem with fuel bug, which I think we touched on at the beginning.
That's where we started, yeah.
And while tin, which is, a main constituent of this, is an antibacterial. And what they found was it killed fuel bug, and it stopped problems with fuel bug going in the system. and the United States Navy started using it. And here we have from 2003, from the United States House of Representatives, a document that they invested £4 million in the fuel catalyst for their Navy fleet, and that's the first recorded use we have of the United States Armed Forces using it. That's why they had it. But they were, unlike here where we were blocked in every possible way, I'm not sure if it was the Department for Defence or the Department for Energy put money into researching it, and they found significant fuel savings and also cuts in emissions.
Let me read this a sec. This is from the National Defence Authorization Act military appropriations document, which stated, given the magnitude of potential fuel savings and emissions reductions, the committee urges the Secretary of Defence to take immediate steps for the application of this new technology as soon as practicable. However, it was unlikely that the document authors would have realised that the new technology they were referring to was fundamentally the same thing that was developed in World War II with the Hurricanes in Russia.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we got references there that various scientific tests that have been done in the United States. Well, they've been done here, and they've been done everywhere. It's just that people haven't taken them seriously because they've been told not to.
In the Philippines, Smart Communications had 600 large generators in remote locations operating 23 hours a day. Each generator consumed an average of 2,000 litres of diesel a month. With the catalyst, fuel consumption went down to an average of 1,540.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, we were talking about big machines there.
Yeah.
And then here in the United States, so New York, a lot of the buildings, the massive buildings, have oil-fired boilers. Well, they're fitted with this catalyst, and they get huge, the installations, and we're talking about a lot of them, hundreds, I believe. Their installations went down. Fuel consumption down, according to the University of Connecticut that did research, between 7% and 18%.
Yep.
And also a lot less maintenance due to far less carbon build-up.
Yep. There's all sorts.
And we go into there about loads of tests that have been done, but not like testimonials.
Yeah.
But scientific reports of various kinds.
That's because I love Proton cars, and I've visited Malaysia. Let me just look at this one. So Proton tested one, and they found that
a new car as well.
A new car, when they tested with the fuel catalyst, they got 3% fuel savings, which it was a brand new car, so that's probably what you'd expect.
I'm exaggerating, it's 2.8%.
2.8%, but NOx reductions when the engine was idling was 100%.
Yeah. And do they fit it? No.
Yeah, well, what was the outcome of that? So if that was done by Proton cars, surely Proton would then say, oh, we're going to chuck one in the fuel tank of every new car when it comes out.
Not as far as we know.
Interesting.
This is the motor industry.
Well, yeah, they don't seem to do things that make sense.
No.
Wow.
So here I've got an estimate, and I believe it's a conservative one, about what the cost of this cover-up has been over the years. So if we say a conservative across-the-board estimate of fuel savings, now I never guarantee anybody a particular fuel saving.
Yeah.
The reason is fuel efficiency economy is so difficult to measure. There's so many variables: your tyre pressures, the weather conditions, the road conditions. But if you look at objective tests that have been done on rolling roads, a lot of them have come out quite substantial. So if we said 3% fuel savings over a period of 35 years since this has been going, we're coming to that figure, which is 206955000000.
Is that, I don't know if that's trillion or billion.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a big number.
It's a big number.
Yeah.
And then we don't need almost all the liquid fuel additives that you need anymore. And that comes to an equivalent amount.
So if the product does everything that you say it does and everything that all those people that we've seen say it does, we don't need as many spark plugs, fuel injectors, diesel particulate filters, catalytic converters, oil filters, replacement, unleaded cylinder heads, and all the other stuff. And engines would be lasting longer, cars would be lasting longer, and we would all technically be richer.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
I can understand why they wanted to keep you quiet.
And so I got a figure here anyway. So that's a total lot. I would say a conservative estimate of 6,989,550,000,000, and that doesn't include the 18 months since I put this book together.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, so to bring it up to date, Peter and I, we had a go again at getting the big boy, the people, to put things right, to atone for their mistakes, but they weren't willing.
Yeah.
But we got into correspondence with the AA, and we sent the boss Edmund King our information and said it's time the AA looked at it again. All we got back was a letter threatening to sue us. Never happened.
So they're threatening to sue you.
Yeah.
And they still haven't released their test details on the product that they're saying doesn't work.
Yeah.
But they're going to sue you for saying it does work without providing any evidence that it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've got 300 pages of correspondence with the AA.
Yeah,
and
that's
they still
right.
haven't said anything worthwhile.
Not only that, they haven't even got it anymore.
Oh, right. Yeah, they've lost it, have they?
They've had to throw it away under data protection.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but we've got it.
That's another good get out of jail free card, isn't it? Oh, data protection.
Yeah.
We had to delete the data.
Anyway, so they got no leg to stand on. They lied. Advertising Standards Authority.
Yeah.
We actually had a meeting with them, and they had always said they had made it impossible to advertise this.
Yeah.
They brought those special rules. We wrote a very, well, quite a powerful letter to them. We actually, Peter and I, ended up going to see them. Their director of advertising policy and practice, I think, a guy called Sharia Kupal. We walked in there expecting a big argument.
Yeah.
He said, we've torn up our regulations, you can now advertise. Now, I was trying to get this off the ground at the time in 2017, but by then I'd run out of money. I had no money at all for advertising, couldn't do it. But anyway, after that, we got an email saying you can advertise. After that, they brought back their regulations.
Right.
That you cannot, under any realistic circumstance, advertise this product. They've done it again.
So what are you actually allowed to say about this product in print at the moment then?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I can say anything they like.
Right.
Right? I want to.
Yeah.
But actually, because I've got this evidence, and they're hardly likely to take, to try and challenge it.
Yeah.
But if anybody else tries to do it, they get an adjudication against them, which, although it's not, as far as I know, legally binding, just is a big slur.
Right.
Yeah, that's how the ASA does it. Then Practical Classics magazine. Peter and I wrote up the case in 2017, and we went out to the motor show. And it's really damning. And there was Danny Hopkins, the editor. I think he still is the editor there.
He is, yeah.
Yeah. And we said, hi Danny, we know your organisation, but it's a great magazine, but there's something that, I don't know how much you know about it, but you've done some very naughty things.
Yeah.
And he said, what's that then? And we told him, and the shutters went down.
Really?
And he walked off, yeah.
We wouldn't talk about it?
No.
Danny, come on the channel. I like Danny Hopkins. I've given him some freebies when I used to work at somewhere that provided bits for cars. Come on, Danny, come on the channel. Come and talk about it.
Yeah, come and have a chat. That'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant.
Yeah, come on, we'll have a conversation. We'll have a beer. Well, I don't drink beer, but I'll have a sparkling water.
Yeah.
You can have a beer.
I'm trying not to drink beer. I'll have a sparkling water as well. Come on, Danny, there's a sparkling water on offer for you.
Yeah, okay, that would be fun.
Yeah.
And anyway, he's a nice guy, I know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's, they've got a lot to hide. They're there to serve the classic.
Well, the problem is with all magazines, it doesn't matter how, and Practical Classics is a great magazine. As far as I'm concerned, it's the best car magazine. But they are beholden to the people that pay the advertising, because it's the advertising that pays. Not, I've worked in magazines. I understand how the finance works, and it, if somebody offers to put money on a page for an advert, you'll say whatever they tell you to say. That's the way it works, especially in a company like Bauer Media that are that big. Danny will have his hands tied by corporate. Come on, Danny, come on the channel.
Okay, Danny, it'd be great to meet you again. Okay, next one, we got involved with the UK Department for Transport, and at one point, so Peter got his MP to write to Baroness Fear at the time. This was in COVID times this was.
Oh yeah.
And it was a fob off. But then we wrote again, and Baroness Veer said she'd get her officials to look at it again.
Yep.
Then we heard nothing. We had an online meeting with a scientist. We went through all the stuff we had said. They didn't challenge any of it, but then they just said, we'll not correspond anymore, but we'll keep your correspondence on file.
So we can use it against you.
So we can use it against, but, you know, crazy.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so that really comes to the end of the book.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, that's basically the story.
That's the story. I think that probably clarifies some of the questions that were in the comments as well. Were there any other comments that were stuck in your head that because I know yourself and your wife have been sort of refreshing the screen and looking at all of the comments that you guys have been posting, and girls.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of positive comments. What is great to see that what this video has done is actually people have completely forgotten about this. Yeah. But people said, hey, yeah, I had one of those and it was great. And there's even one who I think he said, and I can't find the comment now, but I think it was on there, who actually fitted a Power Plus inline device. This was, he said, I think in the early 1990s, a car that couldn't run on unleaded petrol. He still got the car with the device in it. Yeah. And it's running on unleaded petrol now when it couldn't. And it's lasted 30 years. Yeah, so I'm sorry to the gentleman if he's watching and I haven't remembered his name. Yeah. But I'm really sorry about that. I haven't got the actual computer on with the internet on. Yep. And there's been a lot like that. There's been a couple of people calling me a snake oil salesman. Seen a few of those, yep. There's been a few of those. I've had a lot of that over the years. I do not consider that I am one. Yeah. But also, it's not particularly expensive snake oil, is it? Well, no. I mean, so you put one in your car or 2 or 3. Yeah. Is there a guide on the website as to how many you need? Yeah, I've got 2 websites. Well, yeah. One's fuelspiracy.info if one wants a copy of the book, and it also goes into what we've just said, Geoff. Yeah. And then it also links to my other one, which is fuelcatalyst.co.uk, and that's got all the practical information. Now, a couple of people said, well, it's a bit of an amateurish website. Well, it is, because I've done it myself. Yeah, fair enough. Because this is one result of what's happened. They put you out of business. We can't pay professionals to put it together. However, what I have done is summed up the main practical information, what it will do, but also what it won't do, and the few cases where you won't get a result. Yeah. The 2 main ones are, if you're going to fit these in the tank, they've got to go in the tank, and if they get stuck in the pipe, they're not going to do anything. This is what we were saying. Older vehicles, it's likely you can drop it in the tank, and with an empty tank you could hear it hit the bottom. Yeah. But with something like this car, I'm not going to tell them what it is yet either, because they don't know about this car yet. Oh, yeah, okay. I don't know whether there's going to be some form of filter or something. So, like I say, we need to look into whether we can drop it in the tank of this one. Yeah. But we'd be all right with the Talbot motorhome. Oh, absolutely. But if it doesn't go in the tank, it will go in via the sender unit, which in most cars is under the back seat. Yeah. So what we have here, I'll tell you about these products in a minute. Small ones that in cars that there is no restriction on the pipe from the filler cap to the tank. These can be washed down with petrol. Yeah. These ones in modern cars are too big for that. So what we do is we sell those for motorcycles, outboard engines, trucks, where there's a big, or classic cars where there's a big fuel hole, but we sell those for those where in modern cars there's a narrow pipe. These will go down it provided there's no restrictions. Yeah, there's 2 sites. So if we're talking about, and that's petrol or diesel. Oh yes, petrol or diesel. And the way it works is that if you've got like a very small engine, which like a lawnmower, you just need one of those, goes in the fuel tank, drops straight in, there's never a complication. Same with motorcycles. A small, like a moped, one of these goes in, and forever there will be, you know, for years and years you'll get a better performance, easy starting. The fuel will not deteriorate over the winter, so long as you run it for a period before you put it away for the winter. Yep. Whereas without this, fuel will turn to gunk. With this, it doesn't. and you'll be able to start it again in the spring. You'll also get less noise, you get crisper acceleration for years and years and years in a very small machine. Somebody raised the point, well, why do you need more in a bigger machine? Well, simply because you need a greater contact time with so that's just not man enough for something like a truck.
Yeah.
You'd actually need these, and you'd probably need a dozen or 15 of them.
Right, okay.
Just for the pure volume of fuel that's rushing over it. But anyway, so one of these is around the £13 mark, plus £7 postage.
Yeah.
And if you've got a small car, you'd need maybe 3 of these, up to 1 litre, if I remember right, but the information's on the website. If you need a larger car, you might need 6 of them, or even 8 if it's something like a big Jag, because somebody's been in touch about XKRs and things like this.
Yeah.
And so on. So if you're going out to a truck, you're talking probably 12 of these, and so on. But the thing is, once they're in there, they work, provided they get fitted in the tank. The only other time you might not get a result, or you wouldn't get a result that you would notice, so it's probably 1,000 to 1 chance you might have bought a second-hand car, might be running very well, but what you might not realise is that previous owner has put one of these in.
Yeah.
And we're talking about 1,000 to 1 chance, but the chance is there.
Yeah.
And then if you put another one in, then unfortunately it's not going to make.
You're not going to double your benefit, no.
No.
All right.
So there's that. Apart from that, they work.
Yep.
Sometimes the results, people, are really big, really quick.
Yeah.
I have to say that other times, and very often, not often, I say, have you noticed a difference? People say, I haven't really noticed a difference. I'm sure it's okay though.
Yeah.
Usually it's something in the middle.
Yeah.
It just starts easier, it runs smoother, bit of extra power, I'm sure I'm getting more fuel, emissions are low, and that's a common thing. But we have had, with this new design, some very remarkable results very fast. There is a regional airport where I was on Richard Vobe's show, and a man running, really wonderful man, who's had a company there. He runs the machines that shunt the airport, the cranes out backwards, those are.
Yeah.
They've got a huge amount more torque, he says.
Yeah.
And also he's monitored by the CIA. He has to take emissions checks on machines, on his trucks, on his tankers supplying the aircraft.
Yeah.
So that all the emissions have gone down, far more power. He's put it in all his cars.
Yeah.
He's totally bowled over. And these ones, as far as we can tell, it's subjective at the moment, admittedly.
Yeah.
But the design of these, with the greater surface area and a worldwide patented, I should say, when I got involved with this, all I wanted to do was get the story out there, because I've just been so outraged by it.
Yeah.
It was just then I was introduced to somebody who said, hey, I really like this, and he's just completely redesigned it.
Yeah.
And we are getting results that are in excess of the great results I've always had.
I'm excited. It's a beautiful little thing. I really like it.
Yeah.
It's a funky little product. So I think everybody's waiting for me to announce some testing.
Yes. So I've given Geoff products.
Enough for a few cars, to be fair. You've given me a good supply.
I have indeed.
And I think this is the John O'Groats Challenge car. I may change my mind. You've seen it. It's nice, but I don't know. But I'm going to dyno this car. Then I'm going to fit one of these.
More, it probably needs 3 of those.
3 of those.
Or 6 of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, those should go down the tank. So we'll drop 6
make
of those.
sure it does. So what we don't want to happen is it doesn't, and then we think it don't.
I can always use Luke, my master mechanic.
Okay.
He's very good at all of that sort of
stuff. They
stuff.
have to get in the tank.
Okay, we'll get them in the tank. We'll we'll do a dyno before, and then we'll get 1,000 few miles on it.
Yeah.
I've got time now. I've got a dyno booked for Friday, so I can pre-dyno it. Then I can fit it, and then I should be able to get 1,000 miles done over the weekend, because we're busy this weekend, before I start my John O'Groats thing. Which means, in theory, it should be working correctly by the time I start racing that Porsche Taycan. So that'll be a great test. And then I've got all the other cars as well, the motorhome and my wife's 1 Series, which we've done 40,000 miles in. So that's the kind of car where we will see an improvement because we've had that car so long.
Yeah.
So we've got a few different options that we can look at for
that's
different
great.
cars.
I never like a one vehicle test, but if you've got a few, then that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then I can let everybody know in the comments. We've been filming for an hour.
Have we really?
Yeah.
Blimey.
So I think that's the end of the video. Brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. All the details are in the description and in the pinned comment. And yeah, give us your comments. Let us know what you think. If there's any other questions, then maybe we can do part 3. If we need to address anything from people, we can always get together again.
Yeah.
And don't come to Gloucester Airport if you need a quiet place to film. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Geoff. Thank you, everybody.